Intro jingle.
Enter jingle.
Intro jingle.
Enter jingle.
Intro jingle.
Enter jingle.
You know what, Heather? I think you can introduce it this week. Why not?
Welcome to the Japan Archives Year in Review. How's that? Is that epic?
It's a very epic and dramatic. Is that what we're going for today?
I don't know. I watch a lot of Japanese TV because I'm learning Japanese, so it's a really great way to try to get my listening skills up, and I think I channeled that a little bit in English, but that feeling and sense.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, hello everyone. This is our year in review. It's not a bonus, it's not a main episode, but we just thought it's been a year now for our podcast. We were going to do our year in review last week, but there was other more important things that needed to be told last week. I don't know how you feel, Heather. It feels a bit strange though to still be doing this with everything still going on, but I also feel that we have been doing this for a year. I do want to celebrate it. So I do still want to do this episode, and I think for me this podcast, like every week, doing the recording and doing the editing, it was always a nice break from everything happening in the world, like a good way to reset my mind so I can jump back into it.
Absolutely. I completely agree. It was to think about recording this, especially when we want to like celebrate our achievement. There's a lot going on, but it is really nice to be able to take this time and reflect. I mean, there's a lot of reflection going on and a lot of thinking and a lot of learning. And it's been, for me, I mean, we're going to talk about this later, but to be able to do this podcast every week, you're right, just being able to like talk with you and learn more things and grow a lot. We've grown a lot doing this podcast. So we still have that, we're still conscious of everything that's going on. But we also know that we also need to do these things as well while we're still working on everything else, if that makes sense.
It makes sense to me.
Okay, good.
I'm sure it'll make sense to other people. But yeah, this is hitting my mic. Oh, it's going to be a rough recording today.
Wow, it's kind of like
this is going to be really very first episode. We didn't know what we're doing, but we'll get into that later as well. There's probably not going to be much editing in this one. It's more of we're just here to talk, look back on our first year, talk about what we enjoyed, what went bad. We're going to pause at some point and be very brave, listen to episode 1 and give our opinions on that. So I'm not looking forward to that, but I also am looking forward to that.
Yeah,
but
a little bit.
I don't even know where to really start with this. I mean, probably the initial why. Why did we do this initially?
Oh man.
Like it goes back to, I mean, for us, this is our a year point. But obviously there were 2 episodes prior to you coming into this, but we don't talk about those. They don't exist. We've buried them under a mound of dirt and they will never see the light of day again. So it's been more than a year for me, but it's been a year for the 2 of us, and that's what I count as this podcast now. Me and you coming together. The other 2, you know what? I'm going to be brave and just say it was trash, but there we go.
It was a learning opportunity.
It was a brave endeavor.
Yes, brave
but endeavor. Going into why I did it. So I'd always been playing around for a while. So first year in Japan, I worked for companies in ALT, as did Heather. We worked for the same company, and that's how we met.
Yeah.
But there was a lot. I know there wasn't as much free time for you because of the schools you were in. Younger kids, there's more planning and things. But I was posted in high schools. And in high schools, there seemed to be a lot more free time as an ALT. Like the teachers kind of already knew what they wanted from you, and there wasn't much planning or marking. So I was kind of just left, sat at my desk day after day after day. But luckily, the schools did have a laptop they let me use, and
Oh.
that got me starting on. I started like a little weekly blog thing. Like
Hmm.
1 week, I would do a thing about Japanese history. Then the week after, I would find a poem. So, see where I'm going with this, Heather?
I sense a pattern happening.
And
Huh.
and then eventually that stopped for a while, and then me and you started having our coffee times at the mall, where
Well, 'cause
I started working. Didn't take up the blog, but I started working on a Japanese database because I had a lot of books already by that point.
yeah,
And I
'cause
wanted to start taking this information and making a database to, you know, learn, but also show people what I was learning. And you also were trying to
I
set
was
up
I was
your
writing
website.
my blog, yeah, and well, not just that, but the first year we were in different prefectures. So the second year when you moved to the same city, we did the coffee. So that first year, I remember meeting you at training, and then I think I saw you a couple of times on video chat with our friend. Um,
I
and I kept up
remember,
with you, like,
yeah,
"Oh, how's Thomas doing? How's he doing up there? Everything's great." And so I would just get all of the, the information how you were doing. And then when you moved here, yeah, we did. That's what kind of when we became friends because, I only met you the once, and then um,
true.
yeah.
And then what? Well, me and you have listened to podcasts for years now. And
Yeah.
then I started thinking of the idea of a podcast. And I talked about you. Didn't talk about you, sorry. I talked with you about the
Mhm.
idea,
Yeah,
like pretty
before
much
I
from
moved.
the start, because you were writing about Japan itself. And I was like,
Hmm.
Heather's probably the best person to talk to about this.
Aw.
And I do remember at the time we were thinking we could ask the professor for help with the
Yes.
poetry. It didn't work out, and that's completely fine, which is
Mhm.
why I then ultimately did the first 2 episodes solo. And then I was like, nah, nope, no. Mistakes were made. I should have waited and found like someone else. And that's when I thought of you and we talked through
Aw.
it. And you were like, oh, it's so scary. And I was like, just do it. And you're like, okay, I'll be brave. And then this whole thing happened.
Well, it's funny. I don't know if I've told you before, but like years ago when podcasting was like really small and not so big, and before it got really huge, I was like, oh, I want to do a podcast. I want to do a podcast. And I went to open up GarageBand and went, I have nothing to talk about. Well, I am not doing a podcast. So, like, in the back of my mind, I've always, like, not always, but since podcasts have mostly been around and I found out about them, I'm like, I would love to do it, but I have nothing. So, to have topics, and now especially because I was trying to learn, learning Japanese, and I think learning like history and literature is a part of learning a language. Like, it helps you to understand it better. So, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try. Oh my god, please don't let me bring you down.
I know as well it was scarier for you from the start because I already had the idea of a poem at the end of the episode. That's what I
Mhm.
wanted to do. And obviously now you're learning more and you actively want to pursue it. Your rice is ready. I can
My
hear it
rice
beeping.
is done. Call back to culinary history episode, history of rice.
Well played there, Heather. Well played.
You're so
But yeah,
welcome.
I had decided that that's the format I kind of wanted,
Hmm.
and I was worried that you were also worried about doing it because at the time it wasn't something you were familiar with at all, but
Hmm.
you stuck with it.
Hmm.
I know at the beginning we were both like, ooh, do we like just find a poem? Do we find a person and then find a poem by them? And it was all kind of up in the air and things.
Yeah.
And then I think it was only like 3 months ago we really figured out what to do with the literary corner because I had always been thinking about it from the perspective of I wanted to know about the person.
Hmm.
But to you, it was more of the poem or the song. was more important in that section. And once we kind of realized that, we then improved that entire section and kind of merged the two things together.
Yeah, and it is so interesting because there's that vague idea at first, and like the more we've done stuff, the more we go, oh yeah, this is working, or hey, wait a minute, we're kind of like not quite like the similar wavelength, because we're both trying to figure out different things. And sometimes, like, occasionally I would host, which is the first time I hosted was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. That was so scary. And I think
I
was
think
like,
if we listened back,
in.
you would probably hear the fear in your voice. Maybe if we listen back to that,
the first episode.
although
like,
maybe,
oh
although maybe the fear in your voice will have been lost by our terrible sound quality all the way back then.
there you go. There's turning it around. Turn that frown upside down.
Yeah, but yeah, so things like that is a definite improvement, and I think talking about improvements specifically for the episode, like in the storytelling, like for the longest of time, we had the idea of your section was your section, my section was my section, and we were doing the show as I am teaching you as opposed to we're teaching the listeners, and it became a bit disjointed. Whereas now we actively share notes, so then we can think of questions, more suitable questions, but also come up with discussion, which I know some listeners, especially like Alfredo, has enjoyed the fact that now we've added discussion elements into it instead of merely me going, and then this happened, and you go, oh, okay.
And
which I think was a great
question.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, we should have questions. I'm like, but this is the first time I'm listening to this, and I have to think of a question on the fly that not only pertains to this, but sounds erudite is a little too sounds mildly intelligent. And so it was,
which again, it was a problem we were having. But then as soon as we figured that out, it wasn't even something we planned. I remember again, it was Alfredo mentioned it to me. It was like, oh, you had a discussion on this episode. I think it worked really well. And then I talked to you about it, and we were like, oh yeah, we can easily have discussions if we stop doing it as we're both teachers and instead of, and changed it to, we don't actively like make sure we learn everything you're going to say. It's like we skim through it, get a general idea, so then we're prepared and can have discussions and maybe questions to expand upon it. And I am really glad that he brought that to us, because I feel that even though it was quite late into the year, it definitely helped us improve. And
as soon as he said that, this is full disclosure, I listened to the episodes. I pretend to be just a regular listener. I don't know how, I have a suspicion how I can forget that it's me talking. I try to ignore that it's me and it's you, and I try to listen to it as much as I can, a little detached, which doesn't always work, but I did find that I enjoyed the discussion way better. And I was like, oh I'm so glad he pointed that out, because I was like, yeah, I enjoyed that. But because I'm so nervous and trying to figure out everything and learn everything and try to present it in the best way possible and to try to bring everyone in and enjoy it, I couldn't verbalize what he was able to. And I'm just so glad that he pointed it out, because I was like, he's 100% on it. Because I enjoy it way better too.
My mind completely blanked. I was going to respond to you, and then the thought just ran away. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened there. So maybe it'll come back to me later.
I saw you look off to the side like a mosquito flew by. I was like...
No, it sounded like there was someone walking on the roof, which is super weird as I'm in the top floor apartment. But it has been super windy today, and, Japanese apartments aren't the most structurally sound places when there's a slight breeze. So yeah, if I keep looking around, it's because I'm like, what the hell is happening? Oh, it's just the wind and the rickety apartments.
The wind blew your thought away, so it's totally okay.
Oh, it's gone. It might blow back at some point.
Alfredo, listener, discussion format. Does any of that ring a bell?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
It all rings a bell, but the thought and the reply is still gone. I'm sorry.
For another day.
I don't know. For you, like, I think the fact that I know when we did the first few episodes, like, we were trying our best. Like we
Hmm.
knew from the start, like, oh, the sound is a bit and we weren't sure how to improve it at the time because we thought we already
Yeah.
had good mics and things. Obviously we didn't. I'm on microphone number 3 just for this year, and you're on what, number 2 now? I think you're on number
Ah,
2.
yeah, because I bought a condenser mic. And I'm trying to think of when did I get this one? Ah, I remember. Okay, so this microphone that I have now, I bought it years ago because my sister and I recorded some songs for our parents for Christmas one year. So I bought a nice microphone so to record good sound quality because that condenser mic was not good. It was not good. It was I'm oh my gosh, it was bad. Um, and then I brought this when I went to America in December. I was like, I have to bring this microphone back. I have to bring it back. And I was so worried about putting it in my luggage because there's no battery, but some of the guidelines have changed for TSA. And I was like, what if they like take it and I don't know, you know, because I saw something about doing carry on, but then I also said, don't do carry on. And I have no idea anymore. They changed the guidelines. There were dogs at the airport this past time, and I was confused. That's not the point. When I brought the microphone back and we tried it, it was like the clouds had parted and the sun came out.
Like as soon as even before we started recording, just like we always chat on the thing we use to
Hmm.
record before we do it. I mean,
Hmm.
I will admit those first few ones we didn't even know what was a good place to record. We recorded on Skype. Oh
We
my
did.
god.
We're so
We
sorry.
did, and
We
then we got that
tried.
review saying it sounds like they're recording on Skype, and we're like, "Yep, we need to change that." And now we
I love
use
that person.
Squadcast, and I'm
I
so glad that you found Squadcast.
and I love that person. I don't know this person. I don't know who you are. I'm sending out a thank you. I don't know if you're still listening or if you just were like, yeah, I'll come back to you or I'm just done. But I thank you. I'm sending this thanks out to the universe. I hope you get it. You were awesome. Thank you so much. You were kind and gave us great feedback that we listened to. We tried our best to take to heart because you were just fantastic. And yes, Squadcast is amazing. I had an issue with them and they resolved it quickly and the guy was so nice and it ended up being my mistake. um so I mean, and he was just really kind and like he laughed with me, which is hard to do in a support ticket, but he was great. And yeah, so I had to shout out for Squadcast. Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, that as soon as you spoke in that microphone, and we were both like, "Oh yes!" That instantly, I think that very day, I bought the same mic, which is mic number 3.
Yes, you did.
I think my very first microphone is now in England, so if I ever go home and we have to record, I do have a backup at my parents' house. But the second
Yay.
one we did use, which was that annoying one on that big
The
pull-out
big
handle thing,
stick.
and
Yes.
it kept falling off the table. Lives in the cupboard. Maybe we'll never need to use her again. We'll see. So I think we've definitely improved on the sound quality, and I hope people do agree. And we had other feedback from others saying like, make sure you use a compressor and a noise gate when you're editing, which again made the audio more consistent and more of the same level. I know sometimes it was like in and out and up and
Mhm.
down for us both, so that definitely helped as well. And of course, we did have a lot of problems with internet. Now, I will throw you under the bus here, Heather, and say that was entirely on your side.
Yes, I manufactured the Wi-Fi device as well as set up the store that sold it to the professor that I didn't use. I don't have any money
So
from the
many
manufacturing
times.
yet, but oh my god. Oh my god. I'm remembering that device and having to put it in the window and then the battery would run out and like literally because we chat before we record and sometimes we
And that
chat
was most of the time that was a mistake. We were like, we should have recorded hours ago. Oh, your battery's dead.
yeah, because what would happen, we'd be in the middle of a great conversation. Thomas Thomas. Oh,
Oh,
dang it!
oh,
Hang
she's
on.
gone again.
And then I eventually learned that there was, because it's Japanese WiMAX. I hadn't used one before, and I got a cursory walkthrough the first few times. But so I started poking around because I like pushing buttons, like literally. That's fun. And I discovered that there was a power saving option that also gave a higher quality, and it did run the battery down. So I would try to watch it, and I then had to, because the signal was best in a specific window. There was no power outlet near the window. I had to get a drop cord to then connect it, to then also angle it so that it wouldn't fall down.
The levels you went to just so we could record on a weekly basis.
It was such a trauma. I still even now going, why am
You
I?
just have traumatic memories of it. But we don't have to do that anymore now. Finally, your apartment got installed decent internet.
I thank you so
Because
much.
that's the thing. Like, for most people outside of Japan, like in England, you're used to like houses come with an internet line. But in Japan, it's like you move into a house, and every time someone leaves the apartment, it's as though they get rid of the internet line because every new person who comes, they want you to pay for an internet line. Like, I moved into my first apartment, someone came to give me the stuff to set it up. I moved into this one in Chiba, someone came the next day to put in a new line from the outside. Like, they drilled a hole through my wall. I was like, but there's already a plug here for the internet. No, that one doesn't work anymore. Here's a new one. Like, I don't understand, Japan, why you do this.
It might be different companies. Like I think different
It might
maybe.
be.
I don't know, but we didn't have any connection line. So in our apartment there was none. So they had to install the line. And where we live, we kind of live out in the countryside. And like if you live in the city, if you live in Tokyo, I think you can get really great speeds. But if you live kind of out in the country, then
Still dial up.
it's a little different. And I think I'm trying to think about what ours is now, and I don't have the paper in front of me, and I don't think it's relevant. Maybe it's, or someone might want to know, but I can look it up if you want to know. But yeah, it's like it's kind of not strange, but you would think that it seems from the outside, a lot of people have the idea that Japan's a very highly technologically advanced country. And there are some things that are advanced, and there are some things that are not as advanced. And it,
Prime example being if you do want to send a fax, feel free to do so in Japan. You can easily send a fax if you wish.
faxes
Yeah.
are faxes are faxes. That's a
There's
thing.
still a big thing here.
Hmm.
So strange. Mm-mm-mm.
I don't like fax machines. I really don't like
I
fax.
used to I used to have to use a fax. I've never used a fax machine in my entire life, and then I come to Japan. I had to use one every week for my timesheet.
Mm, mm,
I had
mm.
to fax it to the head office. I'm like, what year is it? Like, oh my god.
Um, so yeah, anyway, internet.
Sorry, we got distracted by fax machines. But yeah, so we fixed the internet problems, which
Mhm.
definitely helped.
Mm, mm.
Um, but I don't know. I'm gonna ask you, what is the like one of the changes that have happened over this year for our episodes that you've liked the most? Like we've had a lot of different changes, longer episodes, bonus episodes, how we've done things, discussion stuff. What do you think for you was like the biggest improvement?
Gosh, that's kind of hard because it feels like we've done little things here and there over time that's built up. So to me, it doesn't
All right, well, we'll
feel.
just talk about that then. So we'll just talk about them all then.
No,
As you refuse to pick one.
fine. I can pick one. I can pick one. I can do it. Well, I mean, I just got a message and I got distracted. Sorry, shiny object in my vision. I guess. I mean, really, I do like dis- discussions. I mean, I like when we. But then again, I also like when you tell the story, and I can sit back and listen. So
I think, like you said, there's some of them where it's more like a story. You want to sit back and enjoy
Mhm.
it, and then you ask all your questions at the end, like you did for Cherry Ingram. Like I
Yeah.
know when we were recording, like every now and then I would stop. Like it got edited out, but I would stop and say, "Do you have any questions?" You're like, "I have some, but like." You wanted to hear the whole story first, and you thought the listeners would also appreciate it, which again was one of our earlier feedback things when it was like, it
Mhm.
sounds like you record on Skype. Like we were trying to force in questions.
Yes,
So
yes.
it became a bit disjointed and broken, which again was some of the feedback we got. So we stopped forcing in questions and waited till it sounded like a more natural place. Or in the case of when you wanted to listen to the whole story, you saved up the questions to ask at the end, which again made more sense.
Well, and I think too the fact that we don't stick to one format now. I think we feel comfortable if there's something that, you know, if the story needs to be told in a certain way we feel, then we can change that. We're not locked in. And I really like that. And I really appreciate that. We also feel comfortable to say, hey, wait a minute. Because at first, at the beginning, we weren't sure what we were doing. And it's like, it must be this way because that's how we're doing it. And we were trying to figure things out and learn. And I think even too at the beginning, because we had been friends at a coffee shop, sitting at the coffee shop and talking and going to the massage chairs together in the mall and getting a Starbucks um, see, I'm just going to start reminiscing now. We should probably stop. So as friends, it's a little different when you actually do a project together too. Like the dynamic is a little different. So
Because I know there was times when we were like worried, like, oh, I'm thinking we need to do this, or you were thinking the same, but it was like, oh, we don't want to ruin the friendship. But then we eventually say it to each other, and we were like, actually, no, this is a project, and if there is a problem, we need to face it and fix it. It's not going to affect our friendship because it's a separate thing. And I do think there's some like things we've done which we haven't done again, like when we did the very early episode on World War II, because at the time we were like, oh, this episode's going to be so long, and we took one paragraph each, and it sounded really disjointed, I feel.
mm,
Whereas now we've got used to speaking for longer times,
mm.
because I remember as well to us back then. I mean, let me just double check how long that episode was. They'd be beeping in the background, Heather. What's happening?
So
As the professor walks in,
a professor
a
has
wild
walked in.
professor.
A wild professor has appeared, and he is now stirring the rice to make sure it has been cooked properly. Throwback again to episode culinary history of rice.
But yeah, like carrying on, like looking back at it now, like episode 8A, World War II, Righteous Among Nations. It was only 32 minutes in the end, but for us back then, it was so early on. We were like, that's just such a long episode. We couldn't possibly do it on our own. We have to share it. Whereas now we do 40, 50 minutes, and like our episodes have got naturally longer, and I'm so happy they have, because we've become less scared at thinking, oh, I'm going to stop the research. Like we still stop the research now, but when we realize, oh, it's going to be close to an hour, because we've naturally got better at telling a story and we feel more comfortable with it being longer. But back then it was such a short episode, and we were like, it's too much. We have to break it up. And then it became really disjointed. And I kind of wish we could go back to some earlier ones to redo them. Maybe
Oh, I totally want to. That's like on my list.
do
That's my
more
list.
research
Mm-hmm,
to
mm-hmm.
expand it, make it sound a bit more comfortable.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
know as well
100%.
you have some hang-ups on the Carl Lazo episode you did, when we can talk about that later when we get to it. But yeah, but then it's right now I can't decide, and I don't know if you know what you want to do either. It's like, if we redo it, is it like a bonus thing, or is it a main episode thing? Because I know other podcasts have like re-released stuff in their main feed, but I also like the idea of every week we're still working on new research.
Well, there's more research we can do for those topics because we I remember the bite-sized pieces of history and mythology, and
Oh,
we
the
went
very
through
old
very
intro.
little nibbles. We call it, was it little niblets or nibbles or
Oh yeah, we
something?
called usually like little bite-sized nibbles of Japanese history.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
So at this point, we didn't want to have it too long because also, yeah, that confidence, but it built up, and yeah, we got comfortable like working in a like just this recording style. Because it took us some time to get comfortable with that too, just like speaking into a microphone. I think, like sometimes listening to your own voice is kind of like jarring, and you did all
It
the
was
editing.
very difficult for me, like at
Mm,
first editing it back because I was for the longest of times I hated hearing my own voice. But then it took like I think it wasn't until like episode 10 or even up to 15 where I was still getting used to listening to my own voice. And I was
mm.
like, ugh, I just can't stand it.
And I'm like, no, speak more, Thomas. I love your accent. I could just listen forever, and I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah. So again, that was another issue. Um, but I think as well, I am glad we made all the mistakes we did. Like, I'm not going to say for a minute, oh, I regret
Mm-mm.
jumping in like we did. Like, I think the fact that we jumped in made us push to improve it. Like, as soon as we realized something, we changed it and improved it as quickly as we could.
Mm.
Um, because I think for the longest time, like if we'd have just, we could have planned and recorded and re-recorded and re-recorded, but I don't think we would have ever done it.
No.
The fact that we were just like, let's just upload it and then it's there. And if it's there, then we have to keep working on it and we have to keep improving. So I have worries about listening back. Like I haven't ever listened to anything before episode 10 after I edited it because I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna regret it. But like I said, we'll listen to episode 1 again today and review. But yeah, I feel that if we didn't have jumped in, then we wouldn't be where we are for definitely now. And I
Mm.
think that what was it? You when we started, you were reading around about how to be a successful podcast. You know all the stuff people
I
no
love
doubt read,
research. I love
and
research.
then you came across the thing of that most people give in after 7 episodes because they don't instantly get the listens they want, or they've realized it's
It's a lot of
too much
work.
different things. Yeah, it is a lot of work. I mean,
Yeah.
we spend what 2-3 hours recording, well, chatting and recording.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll
I'll
say
be
that. 2 to 3 hours of
um,
recording in
yeah, in
quotation
brackets
marks.
recording, and then I'll spend another 2-3 hours editing, and then after that you got to make sure your show notes are up. We've started
Mm, mm.
doing artwork for the episodes. I'm so glad
I love the
we
artwork.
started doing the artwork for the
I love it.
episodes. And I hope they enjoyed the picture we used for this one. I'm going to add some more stuff, so let's say nothing.
Okay.
But yeah, like you were saying, going back to that, keep getting sidetracked. Like most people give in after 7 episodes, and I know after our first 7 episodes, we were still a bit like, oh, not many listens. But we
I
also had the idea of at the time, it's like, well, we're doing it because like you had become interested at that point in the poetry. You're like, oh, it's actually quite interesting. And I'm always reading about history. So it was more back then, it was, we don't mind if not many people are listening. We're just enjoying
hmm.
learning. And any extra listens we have are a bonus at this point.
Well, it's almost like having like training wheels. It's so, we wanted to get like comfortable and to, I mean, for me, I wanted to get started, get comfortable. I kind of figured the first episodes were going to be rocky. I mean, I talked to other people about podcasts
Oh
and what they like to
Lord.
listen to, and they said, yeah, if the first episodes at first, at first, the beginning
Good words.
episodes can be rough, and a lot of people understand that, and they'll kind of maybe skip ahead or listen later or understand that
Mm.
it's kind of rocky at the beginning. So I was fine. I'm like, okay, not many people are listening. That's good. I didn't tell a lot of people at first that we were doing this. I told a few friends, but I didn't tell so many people because I also knew that, it is possible we could have stopped. It is possible that, we still had sound issues and internet issues too, and it was like just trying to figure out and learn things. So as we got more comfortable and things got better, then kind of more spreading it out and like kind of letting people know. And again, I just like that I have some people who reach out to me and say, "Oh, I really like what you did," or "Hey, I get some more information about this," and it's always it's so lovely to me to know that someone is listening. I want to give a shout out to, I think, our biggest fans who I love, and say to Thomas's mom and dad. Hello, Thomas's mom and dad. I love you so much. Thank you for always listening. You are amazing. And if we only did the show for you, I would still be super happy because it's just worth doing it for you and for Thomas and me too. So, but
Yeah.
I like that. If someone wants to listen and it's something that helps them learn, strikes a bell, makes them think, makes them happy, I'm glad when someone can find us and it's something they want and they enjoy and they like and they want to come along with us as we try to figure out more topics and more ideas and more things.
I mean, on about topics, I do find that we still some weeks we've started planning like what 6-7 weeks in advance now because we want to make sure we know where we're going and things, especially like with both literary corner and the main story section. But I think it's fair to say that throughout the year, like loads of ideas we've had, like they've got pushed back and back and back. Because it's like, oh, I've just found this out and I really want to tell it next week. And then everything else gets pushed back and back and back. I mean, right now we're after the year in review, we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We still got like the next 10 episodes planned, and they're the main episodes. That's not even including bonus episodes we have, which I know our bonus episodes, we have done a lot of time saying, oh, there'll be a bonus episode out next week, and then they haven't been out. So I think it's safe to say, I think from now on for the listeners, it's safe to say that if we say there's a bonus episode coming, we won't give you a time frame. We'll just let you know what it will be about and just know it will be out in 1-2 weeks time max, because they are, like we say, bonus episodes.
And sometimes life happens.
But I am glad. Yeah, that's exactly why. That's why we do the bonus episode if we have the time. But if not, it's because life happens and things like that. But I'm kind of, it's a difficult one. Like the more we do, the more we want to record. Like we've said, you could easily do 2 recordings a week and we'd still never cover everything we want. And sometimes it's sad we don't have the time, but maybe in the future, who knows? People start paying us to do this. That would be nice. But that's why I'm glad we started doing the bonus episodes. Like you say, it's short stories that we can't fit on main episodes because they would never be long enough. So I'm glad we came up with the idea of it. And also, I remember when we first started this week 1 together, we said this will be a bi-weekly podcast.
Yes, that's right.
And literally the next week, we were like, do you want to record? Yeah, let's record. So literally after our first recording, we scrapped the idea of every 2 weeks and instantly went to every week. Like it didn't even take a second of thought. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, like you said too, like you get nervous before you record. Yeah, me too. Like I've gotten way, like it's strange now. I don't feel so much nervous. I don't feel quite as nervous. But at the beginning, it was like, "Are you ready? Yep, I'm ready. Let's go. This is fine. It's okay." So now,
yeah, like you said, I still get that a bit now, but. Just before I hit start, I'm like, oh, I don't really know what I'm going to say. But then as soon as we press start, we just jump straight into it. And it's like, hi, guys, welcome back. And we just set it up and we get our notes up and we start telling our stories and we have fun with it. Like, I've never sat here and hated the recording. I'm not like, I'm doing this because I have to.
Yes.
Like, we've had days where we've released stuff later because our mental health is more important.
Or
and we've always put, or we have a cold and things like that, or work got in the way because it was exam time and things like that. but we will always make sure there is an episode there for you, even if we have to backdate it a day to get it out on that, so it's in your feed for that Friday. The only times we've missed are the occasions that called for it, like when you were in the hospital. Like,
Yes.
it made no sense to, although we then did a bonus one with you in the hospital bed. So I'm probably just talking out my butt.
No, because I couldn't do it for the first couple of weeks at all. But like that second week I was there, I was like, I want to record. I miss it. I really miss it. And for me, kind of having that little bit of sense of normalcy and just kind of, being able to like, because I mean, I love talking to you anyway. We talk outside of the podcast, once or twice, maybe,
we keep in contact if we must.
A little bit, a tiny bit here and there. So like, I was like, I miss it. I need to do it. And like that first week, we're like, we couldn't. But I was like, I needed to. I wanted to. Like, it's such a.
Yeah, we were both so desperate. Like, I even took my microphone into work and sat because the school closed early for Corona. So, but the teacher still had to go, and we were so missing recording together that I went and sat in a horrible echoey classroom. So I can only apologize for how that sounded. But yeah, like I sat in a corner hoping for the best in a giant empty space, hoping no teacher would walk in and be like, Nanny, what are you doing?
Yeah,
but it was great because it was so nice just to talk to you. Like, obviously we've still been talking, but it was so nice to talk to you again in the context of the podcast, like teaching each other something again.
And it was so great because like we were finished. I think we had finished recording, and we stopped the button. We were just kind of like talking, and the nurse came in to get my vital signs, and she's like looking at me because I have my computer and I have my microphone and headphones. I'm like, I'm doing a podcast with my friend, and like they also got used to me like video chatting with my family, and like some of the nurses would like talk to my parents. It was great. And so I remember like the nurse like, hello to you, and like talking to you a little bit.
That was super cute. It was really nice that happened.
I was so happy. I loved them so much. I can't speak highly enough of the people at that hospital, the nurses, the doctors. I would just praise them forever. They're just so yeah. But anyway, we had to delay for like important reasons. There wasn't just like, I don't feel like it today. I was like, yeah, I don't feel like it either. This kind of It's like I have a splitting headache, and if I try to talk, I'm going to start crying because I have pain in my head. So
I think I did that once.
I think I did.
And I remember saying on the recording, like, sorry guys if I feel like bleh, and if I sound like bleh. But I genuinely did want to record that day. And I forced myself to do it. And in retrospect, maybe I should have waited till I was better instead of that. But it's one of those difficult ones. It was like, we don't record if we understand it's for our health. But then at other times, like, obviously you were in the hospital with your health and you're like, no, I want to record. And so we do.
Let's say on to the topic, because at the beginning we tried to push, like, because we knew that there was that potential of not, if we stopped doing it, if we didn't record an episode, that we might just stop. And especially at the beginning, because it's really common to just stop recording. We didn't want to be the statistic. We wanted to try to keep going. So I think at the beginning, we didn't want to pause, and we also didn't want for the other person. Like, I was like, I must, there were some times I'm like, I don't feel that great, but I'm like, I must push for Thomas because I want to be here and I want to do this. And it's, I push sometimes when I was like, I probably shouldn't have. And I think for you too, you also, I think, felt the same. So you would like, I'm going to do it, even though I'm terrible.
Like, even though I'm dying and I've had to write 3 different tests for tomorrow and I just want to sleep. It's like, no, the show must go on. Because I know I've done all my research and I want to tell it. And Heather's done all her research and I know she wants to tell me about this amazing new poem she's found so we can discuss the meanings behind it.
And then at some point it turned into, Thomas, translate this poem. I don't know where that came from or when it happened, but I was so happy.
I don't remember when that happened. That was because you didn't even tell me you were gonna do it. Like
No.
sometimes now you go, "Ooh, I have a surprise for you." Like the last episode, well, the last main episode where you like, I want you to try and make the next two verses. That I really enjoyed as well.
Mm-mm-mm.
But when you turned around and were like, tell me what you think this means. I love that that is now a mandatory part of the literary canon because it tests our Japanese, and then it also, and then from the Japanese we try and figure out the English, and then from the English we then get a basic meaning, which then leads into our discussion.
Mm-mm-mm.
And it's so nice that you did that instead of you then go, here is the English. And because for the longest time, and I have to apologize to you, I will be
Oh.
honest, I feel like I need to apologize. And I
Oh.
have to apologize to the listeners because the whole point of it was to talk about how the poem made me feel. And for the longest time, I was like, I like that poem. And then I couldn't think of anything to say. Like for the longest time, I felt bad about it. But now we
Oh.
talk about it more because we understand, because as well it was difficult because we didn't understand the imagery and what things meant,
We
but
still.
now it's like, oh, she mentioned sleeves in this poem, it might have something to do with crying and things. Like, oh, there's whiteness, it might be to do with purity. Oh, she mentioned Mount Fuji, this is like a important poetic word which, like, because it's a place name that invokes a certain type of feeling or emotion, and we get that now so we can discuss it, whereas in the original I was like, that's a cool poem, all right, see you next week. I was
You
like, I'm
don't
so
have to.
sorry.
You don't have to apologize. I was like, oh, he liked it. Oh, I'm so happy. So, like, from my perspective, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you liked it. I looked for this poem and I tried to figure it out, and I was like, oh, just thank you for letting me share. So I didn't even take it that way. I was happy.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah. Oh, now he's blushing. Sorry.
Oh no, my laptop's not plugged in. One moment.
That's fine. I'll shut my curtain while you're doing that.
Background noises.
Background noises.
Background noises. Background noises. This is the podcast interlude.
La, 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 la.
Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da. Interlude
Interlude
time.
time.
Anyway, now we're charging. That can
Now
stay in.
my curtain's closed.
I know as well that you now find it amusing. Like our bonus episodes as well. They changed instantly. I remember our bonus episode, we did the intro together. Like our bonus episodes, there'll be no intro, outro, there'll be less editing, and it'll be solo as we find interesting things. And then literally, and then that happened for the second one because it was you giving our song. But literally every bonus after that, it's become like a normal episode. We do it together, there's a discussion. We do the intro, outro, we edit it. So
It's like our first
we're
episode.
just full of inconsistency. Yeah, it was like episode 1 where everything instantly changed. And again, I'm glad we made it follow the way we do the main ones. And I also remember you saying that you find it really amusing now that our main episodes have got 40 50 minutes most of the time now, and our bonus episodes have gone from like 3-4 minutes to the length of
About the beginning.
our beginning episodes of like 20 minutes. So I think it's nice that our bonus episodes as well have become something that you can sink your teeth into.
Mm.
Like sometimes, okay, 5 minutes because that is all there is to say, and I also get why some people might not want to listen to that. Like our really short episodes have less listens because, yeah, I get it. I understand that completely. Which is why I'm also happy that our bonus ones have naturally got longer, as again, we've got used to the idea of, yeah, it's an extra one, but why should it be shorter? Like, tell the story in its entirety.
I agree. I enjoyed listening. I think the last one, I've not been keeping up with podcasts as much recently because, oh, look, no commuting time. And that's when I listen to podcasts, is when I commute. And so I've started to taking, I take walks, and I went, oh, I'll just listen to podcasts on my walk. So I'm trying to catch back up. And I was listening to, I know the last one I was doing laundry. I was like, I'll do laundry and listen to the episodes. And I was like, this reminds me of the beginning. It's like, 13, 14 minutes? Huh? It sounds like a beginning episode. Like, this is nostalgic. Natsukashi.
I'm glad you think that.
It did like throwback to, it's not that long ago, but it still feels like it was so long ago, even though it's just been a year.
Hmm. I think now we should listen to episode 1, and then we can go ooh and talk about that after, and then we can also move on to the question that you wanted to ask.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I'm remembering. Yeah, because we've danced along with many topics, and now I'm trying to remember which one it was. So,
Okay, guys, we're gonna be right back. We're gonna listen to our very first episode, Wishes Luck.
oh gosh, please, lots of luck.
Okay. Speak to you in a second, guys.
またね.
Oh my god, Heather, why is it like
Okay,
this?
I just want to say, dear listener, if you have stuck with us from the beginning, I want to say you are my hero.
You are a brave soul.
I forgot we had
Jesus.
kept in a lot of like the casual kind of like the chime.
Let's talk about this chime, shall we?
The chime.
We always recorded at the time of, yeah, if people have listened from the start, maybe they'll remember this, the Going
I love
Home
you.
song.
I love you, beginning listeners. Thank you.
But, and I don't know if other people didn't hear it, but Alfredo did tell me, he was like, why do you keep talking about the Going Home song? I have never once heard the Going Home song in the background. Because to us, it was super loud. It's literally outside the window. Like, they have the tannoy
Speakers.
system telling people to go home, and they play the song. But it was never picked up
We never heard it.
really on. Yeah, we never heard it. So all these weeks we're like, it's the Going Home song. Great, no one heard it. They're just like, what the hell are you guys on about? You're all crazy.
They're not
So,
wrong. They're not
oh,
wrong.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry for that. I'm so sorry.
Our microphones weren't that good in the beginning.
No.
Oh, yeah, we couldn't even how far did we get in? Was that even a minute before we just stopped?
Yeah, we've had to pause it, guys, just a minute in just to deal with that. So we'll be back again.
It's not bad though. It's not. It's not. Once we got over the little kind of chatty intro that was out of nowhere, like
Which again was one
it's
of
not
our initial
bad.
reviews.
It's
They were
not
like, "Why are they
bad.
talking?" Like, ugh, we're 2 minutes in,
It
guys,
it's
and
not that
I think my soul has left my body.
I don't think it's that bad. I think you definitely can tell, like, we were trying to figure out what we were doing. And I think, for beginner, I mean, I'm like, oh,
You were so cute as that, like, please be patient with me. I'm still learning. Like, oh, all these
well,
things I forgot we used to say.
oh yeah, I was so because I am super because I want to learn the correct pronunciation, like not just for the poems because I know the poems too, but also for Japanese. I'm really working on trying to improve my accent, my pronunciation, I guess instead of accent, like accenting the proper spot and the proper words instead of sounding like a robot, trying to sound more natural. And plus because I was just starting to learn poetry, I know there are so many other people who know so much more than I do. And I wanted to try to give respect for the topic I was doing. I'm like, hi, I am a complete amateur. I'm a complete newbie at this. And newbie still, that's okay, right? Newbie. I think that's okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
just
that's fine.
checking. And I was like, I didn't want people to think that, oh, I know everything and I'm teaching you and I'm telling you and I'm the authority. I'm like, nope, I'm not. I'm just trying to do the best I can. But yeah, I just come off sound like, I'm trying, guys. Please don't hate me. And I'm not, if you know more than I do about literature, please don't tell me I'm dumb. I already know this. I'm working. I'm not dumb. I'm ignorant. It's learning. It's a learning process.
It's definitely how we were at the beginning.
I do
Do
like
we
that.
have
Should
to?
we?
We're only 2
Huh?
minutes in. Do we have to listen to the rest?
Nah, nah,
I regret.
nah.
I regret this.
Okay, it's not that bad. Okay, I do still say that if you listen to us from the beginning, I really do thank you from the bottom of my heart. And if you listen to
Mm-hmm.
us like now, if you're just starting now, or if you started in the middle, or you started at the beginning and you came back, I mean, I just love, if you listen to our podcast, I love you. just saying that, but especially if you stuck around from the beginning and you listened to us and our training wheels that fell off a lot of the times, and we had to like hurriedly grab them and put them back on. And thank you for sticking around. Thank you. Just thank you.
Yeah, that's true. Like we got 2 minutes in, and
Wait.
sorry
It's
guys,
two
had to.
minutes, 2 minutes, 48 seconds, almost
Okay,
3
almost
minutes.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. We tried, and
On our 2 year
yeah, we
anniversary,
can
we'll listen to the whole
definitely
episode.
see. We'll listen to the first 2 episodes. We'll be super pumped.
Oh wow, look at you. I am going to follow along
Mm,
with you, even though I'll just make sure I have a cake or a donut while we're
yeah.
eating that one, while we're recording that one.
But what's left? I mean, I know. I don't know if you wanted to talk about how you felt about one particular episode
Yeah,
where.
I kind of like to touch a base on that. Yeah, you're right, because like something we so we had an episode at the beginning, like one of the beginning ones, and we had found this really really great topic, and it was about like Ralph Lazo, and it was about the internment camps in America, which is a part of Japanese history. I mean, it's not in Japan, but it was an important part of history that I really wanted to talk about. I did not learn it in, from my recollection. I could be remembering wrong, but I don't remember learning it in high school, and I thought that was really that was neglectful. And if I did learn it and I forgot, a teacher that's listening that taught me history and was like, yes, we did, you just forgot, then I apologize. But to my recollection, I don't remember studying it at all. um, and I wanted to learn more. So I known about it for a long time. I forget what age I was when I learned about the internment camps, but it was several years ago, and it was really honestly horrifying to learn about. The we in America had done that. I'm still like it's just, oh man, I can't even verbalize now. And then I know some, I did a little bit of research, but um, one of the beginning episodes, it was the first one I hosted, and I was nervous, and I think too at the time, if I recall, I do know, um, I did the research for this episode. I think we were coming, was it coming back? I think it was around that time. I'd recently gone to a funeral too, and because I think it was in the Shinkansen when I messaged you, right, about that.
Yeah.
Um, I think it wasn't around the time I went to a family member's funeral. Was it?
Hmm.
Am I
Yeah.
recalling correctly? So
Yeah.
yeah, I should have said I can't record this week, but I was like, let's push. We got to do it. And then not just that, but two, because like first episode, first podcasting, you're supposed to have like answers and things,
So that
and
was your very first one
yeah,
hosting.
I
Yeah.
believe it
Mm.
was, yeah. And you asked me a question, and I look back now and I said I should have said I don't know, I'm not sure. And we either should have like the process we should have done was we should have done things a little bit differently. But I don't think at the beginning we were as comfortable with saying I don't know, I'm not sure, I didn't focus on this, and we got comfortable, especially after that episode, because I was so glad as we got listener feedback, and I'm so thankful and so grateful that this listener pointed out. They pointed out to me, is like, this is not right. This is incorrect. I have information for you. You need to study it. You need to learn it. And I was really grateful because the way I said it was a I should have said, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm going to speak from perspective of the research I did. And I only have this perspective of this one aspect of the story, and it's not everything. So, and it was just heartbreaking to me because it was such an impactful and powerful story. And I'm like, I don't want what I say to be incorrect. I don't want to have the messenger ruin the story. I don't want to do that. And it was horrifying to me because I thought I had tried to be respectful, but I learned from that it's okay to say I don't know. It's
Mm,
not disrespectful. It's not bad. It's okay, and it's not admitting um, it's not admitting that you did something wrong. It's that hey, I don't know, but I want to learn more. And I had gone from it for the perspective of um, I had used terms in a certain way, so I had this understanding, but I didn't explain it well enough. To be honest, I didn't explain it well enough, and that's something else too. I've tried to be super cognizant sometimes to the effect of being overly anxious and like, Thomas, is that okay? Thomas, is that okay? Did I say it okay? Are you sure it's okay? Because I don't want to. I just I don't want to do that again because that story was so important and impactful for me. And um, so I think I'm not sure if I'm approaching an end point in this, or you might just have to take the reins from me, or if there's something I missed, because I know we've talked about it so many times and it affects so much of what we talk about now, and how you know I try to be, I try to push too to have people to research themselves. Like, I don't want to be the ultimate authority. I don't want people to think I'm the ultimate authority. I would like for them to look up, to know more, to see, and to try to present the information as this is something I'm sharing with you, but look it up too. It's good to know more. I can't know everything, and you can't know everything. And it's just being able to say, I don't know, and to be, it's fine, it's okay, it's comfortable, and to want to learn more. And we can come back to the topic. There's been several topics that we have said, oh, you know what? We need to come back to this one later. We can't talk about everything. We'll just revisit it later. I think with like Hokusai and, oh, there was something else too. Sinew. Sinew, we want to touch back again on.
but yeah, there's actually so many. I mean, as well, like for Rice, you did a brief history because there was so much, and I like I think I said when we recorded it, I like that you gave really small details about different aspects, and there is so much more where you could have a topic just on one aspect of Rice,
Mm-mm-mm.
which is great. It's
Yeah.
always there for the future because we've talked about it as well. The idea of like our because the Carl Lazo and the Chine Sugihara one, that was our
Mm.
first AB episode.
Yeah,
And
and
that was
modern
one
too.
of the first and our first modern one. And
Mm,
like you said, some we didn't have the confidence at the time to say, I'm not sure. Like we
mm,
felt that we needed to say an answer because that's
mm,
was the whole point of our show. It's like we're here to teach, so we have to know something. Whereas now it's
mm,
like, either I'm not actually sure. Or if we
mm,
know it's something we can quickly check, like
mhm,
we'll pause the recording, I'll check my books, and we'll try and answer it.
mm,
But even then, sometimes we don't just go, sorry, I don't know. We'll have to come back to it. And I'm glad we do that now. And I think
mm.
that the listener, like, they helped us realize that pretty soonish. And I'm glad that did happen.
I was so thankful that they spoke up. I was so grateful because I mean that was important, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I messed it up. I messed it up. It's my fault, and it's my fault, and I'm so sorry. I was like, I don't think it was a mistake, but I wish that wasn't a mistake I had made for that one. Um, But on the other hand, something that helped me with that, on the other hand, I had another listener, it was a Japanese listener, actually said to me, "Thank you so much for talking about Sadako. It was beautiful, and I'm so glad that that story is out there." So that helped a lot because um, I got that thank you for bringing this story, and it's a beautiful story. It's oh gosh, it's heartbreaking, but it's beautiful. It needs to be told. And I like you said, to revisit, like, no, someday I want to come back to Ralph Lazo, and I would love to expand on the internment camps, but it's not something I'm going to come back to until I do a massive amount of research and to hopefully consult with people who know more than I do, because I would not want to, especially that topic, I would not want to do it a disservice. Like, to me, it is really important to talk about, and to talk about properly and respectfully. So, it's kind of a big mixed emotion, because I do feel, a lot of feelings, but I'm glad that
Hmm.
they did tell me, and I'm sincerely grateful, and I love them so much. So, has anyone picked up on a theme?
Well,
I really like it.
I'm glad you finally got to talk about that in at some point. Like,
Yeah,
I know we've talked about it
yeah,
together
yeah.
privately a lot of times, and you did want to kind
Mm.
of voice it, and we didn't know how we would talk about it.
And
So I'm glad the idea of this
I
year in review was we did think about.
and I still don't feel like I talked about it well enough and properly enough. I will tell you that right now. I still feel like I am inadequately expressing everything I want to know and say and to do, to share, but I have to leave it for now. Maybe that's a different day.
Hmm. So I don't know how you want to end this little cheery review. I've had a lot of fun recording this actually. So I think I want
Well,
to end on
Thomas,
one of the questions you were meaning to ask.
yes, I was like, Thomas, don't go. Thomas, don't go.
No, don't worry. I remembered
um,
we're going to end on the thing that you wanted to talk about, or at least ask yourself and to me.
so, Thomas, may I ask you, how do you feel that this podcast has affected you? Has it made any changes in your life? Has something we've talked about affected you and how you want to proceed for your future self?
I think for me, I see you laughing. I
I'm not
think for
laughing. It's
me,
an elm tree.
it's a mixture of like two different things. One of them we talked about yesterday and talked about now. It seems kind of as like a silly thing to say, so I'm going to say that one now, which is that I found comfort in that as I was doing the research, like it was such a like it was like jumping off the deep end. Like
Mm,
it's the history of an entire country, and not just the history. We're doing the myths and the folk tales, which expands it so much more greatly. And the first few weeks we were doing it, it was like, oh, I'm telling this, and then you were asking questions, and we try and answer, and even the things I didn't know, we tried to answer because at that time it's like you were making me realize, oh God, there's so much I don't know, and this is something I've loved for years, something I've been researching just on the side because I like the history, and then all of a sudden I'm
mm,
confronted with, oh no, someone's now asking questions, and oh no, we now have listeners who might also have these questions, and it was scary. And what the podcast has done for me, like as we've done more and more and more episodes, even if it's modern or or ancient or folktale and fictitious, I found comfort in finding the connections between everything.
mm, mm.
Like everything's become less
Yes.
disjointed because even
Mm,
if it's something subtle, like, oh, we talked about Hachiko for one episode and we randomly said, oh, this news article, the Asahi Shimbun, wrote about him. And then I don't know if it was the next week or the week after, but whoever or whatever we then talked about, their story was also written in this newspaper. So you have all these different
was that
stories and
Arctic?
events. Hmm?
Was that the Arctic episode?
It might have been the Arctic episode, actually.
Throwback
Hmm.
to episodes Hachiko and the Arctic expedition to Japan. or from Japan.
Please listen to the Arctic one. It doesn't have as many listens as the others, and I loved that one. I
I do
loved doing the
too.
research for that one, and I'm super sad no one wants to listen to it. So please tell people to listen to it. But yeah, for me, it was, even though it was like the smallest of connections, the fact that these two separate events and stories are linked to together is so nice. And we
Mm.
even see it when you've talked about your poets, like this person, oh, he
Mm.
actually met another poet, or he wrote this, which was also read by someone else. And
Or Basho.
always coming back to Basho as well, or like
Mm-hmm.
we link back to, oh, you can find another poem in the same poetry book. And
Mm.
it might seem silly to say that it's nice that everything's become more and more connected to each other, but I think it's nice for me to see that that has happened.
Mm.
Like everything is interlinked. You just have to find where to look.
Mm. See, I think it's beautiful. I don't think it's silly at all. I think it's lovely.
But now, because I've gone on about that for so long, I forgot what my other point was. I did have two. Um, Oh, and the other one was, like I said at the start of the episode, for me, what this has done is more of, it's given me space away from
Mm.
everything else. Like it's our hobby. It's something fun.
Mm.
It's time away from family and friends. Like you put your phone away, you concentrate on this. There's no distraction from that. You don't have to think about work. You get an hour away from everything that's happening in the news, like, because sometimes you just need that hour or two
Mm.
to calm down and to ready yourself so you can get back into it and be prepared to learn more, especially now with what's happening around the world. And that's what the podcast really does for me every week.
Mm.
But now I have to send your question back to you.
So I agree with your last statement because like also for me, because, well, first of all, if you read my blog, and I've maybe mentioned it before, but my husband is Japanese, and for the at this point our plans are to be in Japan, and I have been studying Japanese for a while, but for me now it's really important. It's like a part of my life. It is a part of my daily life. I use Japanese every day. When I go outside, I go to stores, I go to like City Hall. My husband doesn't always go with me. Like I go by myself, and some people can speak a little English, some people can speak very good English, and some people don't speak much at all. They can maybe understand a little bit, but they may not be able to reply. Um, that really kind of hit home for me when I was in the hospital, and um, not many people at all spoke English. There was somebody who understood but couldn't have, like, full sentences, especially some of the medical terms that they were giving to me. So to realize that, what if I had gone into, like, if I had gone to the emergency room, like if I was by myself, I had gone in and I need to learn Japanese. Like before it was, oh, I'm learning Japanese. It's kind of more of a like a hobby. Then I moved here and I'm like, I really need to learn it. And now it's like, it's not just a need, it's like it's a huge necessity, because just that experience alone, and there's some other ones too, but that one really. And with Japanese, there is a lot of subtle context. There is, with English, it's more, there's a lot more direct communication, but Japanese always isn't always direct. There are sometimes you kind of roundabout get to things, or you have the allusion, not illusion, but allusion to other things. And to you can have like the communication level, but to understand Japanese on a deeper level, there is that multi layers of study. So for me, like learning the history means learning the history of the country, to learn the history of like so many things that have happened here. And so it's an important part of my language learning. Like it's like a hobby, but it also, for me, it's like it's another necessity. It's fun and I love it. And I'm so glad I started doing it. I'm glad you had mentioned it to me, because I would have listened to your podcast because I did at the beginning, but now it's on a more in-depth level to like sit here, listen, and listen back again to it and read the show notes. Um, Even though I've forgotten some of the stuff from the beginning. And yeah, like you said, to be able to dive into it and to put things aside and say, you know what, this is important. This is something I want to do. This is something I need to do. It's for me. It's for like to take just some relaxing time to enjoy something and to work with someone I absolutely adore and love and just think is the most wonderful person in the world. Well, one of the most wonderful person in the world. I have many. Um, you could pick up from that, but seriously, to be able to work with you every week and like, our friendship. I mean, we were friends when we lived in Chiba, but it's a different level of friendship, and it's been amazing to me to be able to work with someone who I like respect and admire, and who I can be open with and share things and be comfortable saying, hey, I'm nervous, I'm anxious. And you're like, it's okay. It's okay. Stop. It's okay. But then you can also do the same with me. And I'm like, you're okay. You're okay. So
Yeah.
to be able to have that, um, it feels like a really nice gift I wasn't expecting. And strangely enough, I think one of the recent episodes that kind of hit me was Hokusai. And I think I went back and listened at the end, and my little speech about like learning as you get older. I was like, wow, you were very into that, weren't you? And I'm like, yeah, I was. I was like, yeah, okay, you could probably calm down a little bit there. But I was, it really it got me because I push learning, I mean, for myself, but for other people too. It just enriches your life so much. And I want other people to go, this is cool, you guys, come on. It's great. Learning is so much fun. It's kind of hard at first. It makes you tired, but then you feel so good after. Um, and, also Hokusai kind of changed throughout the course of his life. And it was nice to see that, hey, you know what? You can grow, you can change, you don't stop. You don't get to like, 21, yep, I'm done, or graduate college, like, yep, it's all, yeah, same from now. No, it's okay to, at 60 years old go, yeah, I don't know anything. I'll be 100 and I'll know lots of stuff. But right now, yeah, I don't know nothing. So, okay, that's a little bit. I think maybe you might have to chop out a lot.
No, it's all staying. It was nice to listen to. Like your
Oh,
honesty just flooded out.
oh, that makes me feel really nice. Yeah, there's been a lot of reflections about everything this year, so I think it's maybe it's a good timing that we do this now. I think because especially this past week, there's so much reflection and so much learning and a lot of reaching out and trying to know more and to learn more and to be conscious of like be conscious of our words and be conscious of listening to other people. And I could go on there too, but maybe I should turn back to you before I keep talking.
Well, thank you for your honesty with that. And
Oh,
thank you for what you said about me.
oh,
That was
welcome.
very sweet. Mm. And I feel the same.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Um,
now I'm gonna start crying.
but maybe that's time to sign off then. That was quite a fun dive into our first year. Officially, now we can say with this recording, 1 year is over with, and on to year number 2. We've got loads of stuff planned,
Wait,
bonuses, main episodes. Oh,
finally
one more
songs.
question then. If there was one thing that you would want to do for the podcast in year 2, what would it be? It doesn't necessarily have to be a theme for an episode. It could be like a new feature or like a one-off thing.
I really want to bring in some guests. There are some people who I have been like, "Hey, would you be interested in this? Would you like to come and have maybe a little recording? Would it be nice? Would you like?" So there's a few people I've got in mind. And I did enjoy when we had I guess our first guest host were the professor and Tessa in the background a little bit.
Oh, for Christmas Live in Japan.
Yeah, so I guess we technically have had a guess, and oh, I had something, but I'm starting to get hungry, so I lost
That's
it.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
For me, it would be listeners' questions.
Yeah, that's a good one.
A question and answer episode. I would like
Mm-hmm.
to try and do that in year 2.
Mm.
But okay then.
Oh, I do have one more. There is a dear friend of mine who listens in, and I'll say again, I love her and she's amazing. And she actually, oh my God, I forgot 2 things. One of them was Calabash. I am going to come back to Calabash because she gave me a really great history about the Calabashes. Well, Calabash as a city, not Calabashes as a plant. And then the other thing is, I have to embarrassingly call out myself for my incorrect Japanese. I totally forgot, and I'm glad that you said something, or I don't know how I got to this point, but I got to it. Ikimashou is not right. It's not right, and I had a dear friend who reached out to me and said, that's actually not correct. And here is why. And I had my notes, and where did they go? And where did it go? Yeah, because iku, which ikimashou is a conjugation of iku, which means to go, and it has physical movement. It's what it implies is physical movement, like literally moving your body. But we're not moving anywhere. I mean, unless you're in a car and you're driving, well, you probably it goes to cars, but unless you're in like physically in something that you're moving, you might be listening at home. You probably aren't going to go anywhere. So I asked the professor, I'm like, was this was incorrect? He's like, oh yeah, it sounds kind of weird. And I went, why didn't you tell me before? And he was like, So the thing I like about he lets me make mistakes, and then when I discover them, he's like, yes, you're right. There you go. So he's very good in that respect. But still, I was like, oh my gosh, how many episodes I said ikimashou. So and funnily enough, I know the right thing to say now, and it actually comes. I can use something from one of my favorite TV shows, which comes on TV in the mornings. It's technically a kids show, but
Okay.
それでは捧ぐ or それでは始めましょう. So I have 2 alternatives, and I could say それでは probably sasagu because it comes from a show I really like. So that's more natural and polite, and yeah, I have to call out myself. Still learning, and that's okay.
Learning. But I'm glad you mentioned that because I just remembered. I think the only change we're making going into year 2 is we discussed we're going to scrap the intros and outros that we've been using. Like we had one version, we updated it to version 2, but now we were thinking we'll just do the intro and outro fresh every time. It's more natural. It seems, listening back now, it seems a bit stunted to have the intro and then we say hello and then we say goodbye and then there's the outro. So we're going to do away with that. That's the only change we're doing going into year 2. But I am excited for some of the episodes we've got lined up. We haven't done the bonus episode yet, so that will be coming to you soon. That was the episode about we wanted to go back and look at some poetry that we talked about before, but the actual first episode that's coming out, which will be next week on Friday. So Friday the 19th of June. I'm going to let Heather tell you what it's going to be, because this is something very dear to her heart, and it's been a long time in coming. We've been trying to figure out how we want to do it. We're still getting the notes together, but we're very excited to do this episode.
So, dear listeners, the road. Oh wait, hang on, I missed it. I wasn't going to say it that way. Oh no. We're going to start. We're going to start our meanderings. When I say meanderings, oh, I had this really brilliant thing, and then I just went, let me just check and make sure, and it's totally gone. It is flown out, Thomas. Oh my gosh. Okay, hang on. I can do this. I can do this. We are going to start our path for year 2, starting with Basho.
I am glad we're starting year 2 with him. We have had several poems about him. In fact, a lot of poets and a lot of stories we've talked about have linked to Basho. So I think it's been a while coming, and I'm glad you had the idea of we're going to give a whole episode dedicated to him. So a whole episode dedicated to him and his poetry. So a bit like the Cherry Blossoms, where we changed it up, we'll have poems and songs spliced throughout. So there won't be a literary corner. It's all literary corner for the first episode of year 2.
It's a literary room with all 4 corners.
Literally a literary corner episode.
I like that.
So I'm looking forward to that. And I don't really have anything else to say. We talked about so much today, and I can't wait for us to do this in another year's time and see where we are. So I just want to say thank you to all our listeners this year. And I would like to say that I did not expect, when we recorded this, to be on 8,432 listens after 1 year. I never expected us to have this many listeners and this many listens after 1 year. We started it for fun. I thought maybe we'd have just a few family and friends, and I'm so glad we've got to where we are, especially with how much we had to learn. So I honestly cannot thank you all enough for how far we've come.
I don't think I can add anything else to that except my sincerest thanks as well. I never expected, and we will keep trying our best to bring you interesting topics, and we'll do our best to learn. And thank you so much for coming along with us. Thank you.
Definitely. Well, I think it's time to sign off then for today.
I guess so.
Okay. Well, once again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today and for listening this entire year. Whether you stayed from the beginning, you brave souls, or whether you joined at a later date. That's everything from me. So I will just say, mata ne.
皆さん気をつけて。またね。Outro music.
Outro music. Outro music.